Hello, everybody. Welcome to Musing with Michelle on Monday. I'm so excited that you're here, and we're going to be discussing my favorite topic, which is sugar. So I have a question for you. Do you struggle with sugar cravings? If so, I'm going to explain in a bit why it's hard to kick that sugar habit and give you a variety of tips on how to tame that sweet tooth of yours. I'm also going to tell you why it's important to do so. But if this is the first time you're meeting me, let me introduce myself. I'm Michele. I'm the CEO and founder of Make Healthy Fit and a holistic nutrition health coach. I'm also an author and a woman who conquered obesity, type 2 diabetes, and survived relationship trauma. Now I have the awesome honor of helping other women develop the mindset that they need to meet all their wellness goals, body, mind, and spirit. So let's get started talking about sugar. And you'll see over here, I have some show and tell, so you're not going to want to leave right away. Go ahead and stay because you're going to learn a lot about what sugars are better for you, and you're also going to learn some tips about how much sugar is really okay. So let's get started. The three main reasons that it's hard for you to kick the sugar habit is because of addictive properties that sugar has. It's addictive. It's more addictive than heroin, and we're going to talk about that in a second. The second is that we live in a world of stress, whether it's stress from the job, overscheduled, whatever, stress, fear, worry. And that is another area. And the third is sleep. Well, what do they all have in common? Well, the addictive properties is really, it's about how sugar affects your brain. It releases dopamine, which is the reward system in your body that makes you feel good. Similarly, when you are stressed, your body releases hormones, also like the negative ones like cortisol, and it'll, sometimes adrenaline can be good, but sometimes it can be bad. And when you do that, when you're in a stressful, worried state, your body thinks that you're in danger. It doesn't know the difference between a real threat and your stress. And so it puts you into this fight and flight mode. And when you're in there, you are going to give your body whatever it thinks it needs to feel better. And guess what? That reward system in your brain, remember I said dopamine, it wants to release that dopamine. So you're going to crave things that have a lot of sugar, candies and donuts and bagels and bread or whatever else, pasta, whatever it is that soothes your sweet tooth. And the third is sleep. Because if you have poor or lack of sleep, what happens again is your body starts to affect all these different chemicals, and there is a bunch of them in your brain that either makes you feel hungry. For instance, when you have lack of sleep or poor sleep, you usually have a lack of energy. And so in the morning, the reason that you're going to crave carbs throughout the day is that carbohydrates is what gives your body energy. So good sleep, learning how to manage stress, and also starting to find ways to cut out sugar is really important. And the important reason is that it has negative effects on your body. It doesn't only contribute to weight gain, it creates inflammation in your body. And inflammation is the beginning of a lot of diseases. And when you do get excess weight on your body, that can lead to things like high blood pressure, high triglycerides, diabetes, and it's even been linked with cancer. So let's get started helping you know some tips on how to kick that sugar habit. So the first is around something you've probably not known or been told before, and I hope that I'm going to tell you a lot of things that provide value today, and that is dehydration. So if you're not getting enough water, you might want to drink more water, because not only is that filling, but it might take that your body, and you might be craving sugar because you're lacking something else. And believe it or not, coffee can actually rob you of hydration as well. Coffee has a lot of ups and downs. You increase your energy, right? And then it drops down. You have a crash sometimes if you're not drinking another cup. It's really false energy in your body. It's not like carbohydrates that give you that natural energy. And so what happens is it messes with your blood sugar levels, and then you might be getting cravings. So you might want to reduce or eliminate coffee out of your, out of your daily routine. The other thing is you can crowd out sugar cravings by eating the right sweets. One of the things that I found that really helped me was I wasn't just going to one day stop wanting sugar. And so I couldn't get rid of the sugary things that were in my house, but I could choose things that were a little bit more healthy for me. And that's where the show and tell is going to come in, and I'm going to do that as soon as I get done these tips. But I will give you one example, and that is to crowd out poor sugar products like candies, cakes, donuts, cookies with healthy sweet vegetables and fruits. So add into your morning, some berries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, all of them have the lowest sugar level there is. And you can add them to plain yogurts, to oatmeal, roast butternut squash, or smash it, or eat it whatever way you want. I actually roast it in the oven and toss in some nuts on there, throw it in salads. So butternut squashes are really good, carrots, sweet potatoes with some cinnamon on it. And bananas, just whole fruits. Don't try to go for a lot of the dry fruits or canned fruits, because some of the dry fruits are actually very high in sugar. And I'm going to give you an example of that. Not that they're bad for you, but people eat them in excess. And also some of the canned fruit has added sugar. So if you're going to use canned fruit, make sure that it's in its natural juices without any of that. The other thing is we have a society that drinks a lot of beverages that are high in sugar, like sodas and juices. And, that was the first thing I was told when I was diabetic: cut the juices out. Some of them, yes, they're fruit, but you're really getting a concentrated amount of sugar. And again, that's going to, trigger that dopamine. The other myth is that artificial sweeteners will help, because people think that that's going to help you lose weight. And I'll be talking about that in another whole episode. But what you need to know is your brain doesn't know the difference between real sugar and artificial sugar. And as a matter of fact, artificial sugar is sometimes 2 times as sweet. And so your brain says, wow, we got a lot of sugar coming in. We need to pour out that insulin to get that sugar level down. And so it's going to react. Your body's going to react the same way, whether you're eating artificial sweeteners or regular sugar. And yes, you might be maybe not getting the calories that come along with regular sugar, but you're getting something equally bad, and that is their chemicals. Sugar, refined sugar, and artificial sweeteners are both chemicals. They are not food. They are substances that are toxifying your body. So another tip for you is to look at the amount of animal meat that you're eating. And one of the ways I'm going to explain this is, have you ever eaten something salty like chips and then crave something sweet? Well, the same thing happens. We are in a society where we eat a lot of meat, and many people have reduced their beef, but they're still eating a lot of chicken. Even so, every food has an energy. And when you're eating too much meat, sometimes it makes you crave the opposite. So you're going to crave sugar, just like you would if you were eating something salty. Another thing is to get your body moving, because when you're moving your body, not only are you, balancing your blood sugars, which really helps, but there's a lot of different ways that physical activity helps your body ward off those cravings. So really try to do that. The other is, we mentioned sleep, and how sleep really triggers all those hormones, especially craving carbs, because you need energy. So make sure that you get proper sleep. And if you do have a sleep disorder, really go see a doctor, because it's really important to your overall health, your mind, fogginess in your mind. It's not just about sugar cravings. So sleep is really important. It's really not something people think about a lot with health, but it is part of the program. Also, you can be sure you avoid a lot of low-fat foods. And the reason that I'm saying that is in order to increase the taste of those foods, a lot of companies add added sugars into them. So you really have to be careful. In fact, when the whole low-fat craze came out, that's when there was a spike in the obesity and diabetes epidemic, because people thought they were doing the right thing by eating low fat, when the truth of the matter is that fat doesn't always make you fat. It's carbohydrates and too much excess and too much sugar. As a matter of fact, 17% of all adult calories come from sugar. So we need to work on sugar. And last but not least, you can experiment with spices, like sweeter spices like cardamom and cinnamon and nutmeg. Add them to your sweet potatoes, add them to your coffee, just add those spices. So start trying to crowd in some new stuff like fresh fruits and, all of those other things, fresh vegetables, some spices, water, healthier beverages like water or, unsweetened seltzer, and use that in a way to crowd out the junk. So stick with me because I'm going to go through this fast. I have a lot of things here, but I'm not going to talk about all of them. I'm going to actually, put some things, down in the comments for you, or a link so that you can go to a link and learn a little bit more. But for now, I wanted to explain a couple things. All sugar reacts in your body the same. Some have higher calories than others. So there is no sugar that I want to say is really good for you. We want to get it down. But there are some that have trace nutrients in them, which means that they're not empty calories. Because when we eat substances that are not really food, your body's not getting any nourishment from it at all. Nothing. It's not giving your body anything it needs. And so it's like waste, really. And after a while, your body can't get rid of all that waste. It gets clogged. I've talked about this like twice before. And that's when it really starts to hurt your body. But I want to show you the difference here. This is refined table sugar, which most people buy. And this isn't much better, but this is pure cane sugar. It tastes the same. It's sweet. It's very sweet, as a matter of fact. The difference is it has a few trace nutrients in it. So even when I did my cookie baking this year, I didn't use this. I used this. Here are some other natural sweeteners. And so I want to make you alerted to the amount of sugar I said that you should have, and what contributes to sugar. So, as an example, I mentioned earlier that in this country, people are eating about 20 teaspoons of sugar a day, when, many organizations, I think there's been 4 organizations that have come up with different statistics, and they're saying anywhere between 10 to 12 teaspoons. Well, what's a teaspoon? So when you look at a box or the back of a product, it'll tell you the grams of sugar. And every 4 grams is a teaspoon. So if something has 40 grams, 40 divided by 4 is 10. That's 10 sugars, 10 teaspoons. That's your equivalent for the day. So if you have one product or one food that has 40, you're done. That means no sugar and fruit, nothing. You're done. And so I want to give you an example with maple syrup. How many people take maple syrup and pour it all over their pancakes? Well, for this, 1/4 of a cup, which is probably what people put on their pancakes or more, the sugar content is 53 grams. So that exceeds the 10 teaspoons. Now, that is a natural sugar, and so I use those more than artificial sugar, but I usually typically put them in recipes. It's not like I'm drinking it or pouring it on pancakes. I try to take something that is equally, has a lot of, I would say, grams of sugar, but there are some products that have a lesser effect on your blood sugar. And one of those is coconut sugar. Coconut sugar, a lot of people don't know about this, but coconut sugar is actually taken from the coconut palm, dehydrated. It has, you can't see it here, I don't think, but it's brown. And it actually has the consistency and likes to taste a little bit of light brown sugar, but it has a lot of nutrients in it, and it really doesn't have the same blood sugar spike as other sugars. So I can't go through all of these, but the reason that I'm doing this is I want to show you that these are all sugars: molasses, honey, organic agave, and the light blue organic is one of the better because agave is still a sugar, and a lot of people don't realize that one of the things that makes it different is that it has been linked, like coconut sugar, with not having the same effect on your blood sugar. So little bits, that's the whole thing. If you're going to use this, always remember that every 4 grams is a teaspoon. So if I put this on something, I typically will put a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon, but some small amount just to give me a sweet taste. So I'm going to give you, you know, your little challenge before the end of this today, but I really want people to start looking at labels when it comes to sugar. And so here's an example of a protein bar. And there's a lot of people that go out and buy granola bars and protein bars and have no idea how much sugar they're in. Fruit and nut bars from Nature Valley, yes, they have added sugars to them, but there's a couple brands like this one that have about 8 to 7 grams of sugar, which is about 2 teaspoons, and that's far less than many others. There are some kind bars, they're nut and spice kind bars that only have 5 grams of sugar, and they're delicious. Lots more nuts. You get a lot of fat in those, but sometimes fat is better for a while to get that sugar craving down. And over here on this side, I'm just going to give you some surprises maybe. So Honey Made, this is a processed food. And, you know, eating whole foods, the foods that grow that way, like fruits, are much better for you. But if you're in the middle of trying to conquer sugar craving, this is a whole grain. So it's actually giving you vitamins and minerals. And it is also, you can have 2 sheets of this, 8 crackers, and the sugars is 8 grams. That's about 2 teaspoons. So think about that. You know, you can have 2 of these and just eat them. Sometimes I will, you know, you can sprinkle something on them, you know, to make them a little better, but just eating them like this is a really good alternative. And another thing that I mentioned that people are unaware of is how much sugar is in dried fruits. And these are dried cherries. And just to give you an idea, there's 25 grams of these in a quarter cup. So if you're sitting there eating them as a snack, that's 25 grams divided by 4. How many teaspoons of sugar? It's a lot. So be careful, look at labels, and remember the tips that I gave you. I do have a document. It's a PDF that has all the tips written down if you haven't taken notes. And if you leave a comment down at the bottom, I will send you that PDF so that you have all those tips in writing. So I hope today has helped you understand why sugar is not good for your body, why you're having problems, whether you're not sleeping well or you're stressed or, you know, you're just eating so much, it's, you know, it's triggering dopamine in your brain. And please know that you are not alone. This is truly an epidemic, and I'm really here in a way to help you. And so I would love to hear about your journey and just start eating foods that are lower in sugar and less of them and crowding them out. So until next time, I'm going to sign off, and I want to thank you for joining, and I'll see you again next Monday. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.